पावर प्लांट क्वेश्चन आंसर में आपका स्वागत है। अगर आप BOE या बॉयलर ऑपरेटर एग्जाम या इंटरव्यू की तैयारी कर रहे हैं तो यह चैनल आपके लिए बहुत हेल्पफुल होने वाला है। चलिए शुरू करते हैं। What is the function of lube oil in a turbine? The main function of lubrication oil is to lubricate the bearings, cool bearings, flush out metallic debris from bearings, control speed of turbine, governing oil. It is the lifeblood of a turbine. Turbine oil family is known as rust and oxidation, R&O, inhibited oils. Why is the oil tank base is made sloped to one side? The tank base is made sloped to one side so that the sediments in oil can be collected in the lower area and can be drained out by opening the drain valve. What is the function of vapor extraction fan? Vapor extraction fan is provided on the oil tank to vent out any oil vapor and keep the tank slightly below the atmospheric pressure. What is coasting down of turbine? When turbine is stopped or trips, rotor does not come to stand still immediately. From full speed rotor requires some time to come stand still as the mass of the rotating part is high. Slow acceleration of turbine speed is called coasting down. Why is an emergency oil pump provided and when does it operate? Emergency oil pump OP is driven by a DC motor. In case of blackout or non-availability of either MOP or AOP, this pump is started automatically to continue the oil supply to the bearings. How is the temperature of oil controlled? Normally two oil coolers of 100% capacity, each are provided to cool down the entire oil supplied to the turbine bearings, gearbox and generator bearing for lubrication. Oil cooler is a shell and tube type heat exchanger. What condition is indicated by the differential pressure across the oil filter? The oil is filtered up to 20 to 25 level on these filters before circulating in bearings. If differential pressure is more, it indicates that the filter is choked and needs cleaning. Why is oil centrifuge or oil purifier used? We can understand the importance of lubrication oil. It is the lifeblood of a turbine. There is a possibility of leakage of steam into the lubricating oil system at bearing due to the failure of labyrinths. Also there is a chance of mixing of cooling water in the lubricating oil at oil cooler in case of puncture of any tubes. Oil is contaminated with heavier metallic debris, dust and dirt. So it is required to separate water and solid particles from the oil to keep it clean and increase its life. Centrifuge machine, which separate water and solid particles from oil due to centrifugal force. What is difference between purification and clarification? In purification mode, centrifuge is used to separate different density, liquid mixture oil and water. This can remove solid particles also. For this purpose, water seal is provided to prevent light density oil to come to the water outlet side. Heavier solid particles separate are collected at the outer surface of the ball which can be cleaned regularly. In clarification mode, only solid particles are removed. Rotating ball is adjusted for this. Removed sludge from the oil is collected at the outer periphery of the ball which is cleaned regularly. Scaling water is not required in this mode of operation. Why is an overhead oil tank provided and when does it work? Lube oil overhead tank is used for the safety of turbine. A tank is placed at a height and oil is always filled in this tank. In case of failure oil pumps, automatically the oil from this tank start flowing by gravity and in this way, the oil is supplied to the bearings. This system ensures supply of oil to turbine bearings in spite of failure of oil pumps, particularly emergency oil pump during coasting down. How does an oil accumulator work? An oil accumulator is provided on the governing or control oil line of the turbine. During normal operation, oil pressure of the line compress, the bladder and the oil is occupied in the oil space of the accumulator. When pressure at the line drops, the bladder is expanded due to inside gas pressure. So, it pushes out the oil of oil space to the oil line and takes care of momentary oil pressure fluctuation. Why is vacuum balancing line provided at the condensate extraction pump? To avoid any air lock at the pump or suction line, a vacuum balancing line is provided. During starting of any CEP, this vacuum balance line is opened so that any air presence in the line is soaked due to the condenser vacuum. After running of the pump, this line can be closed. How is the level of condenser maintained? As steam enters the turbine continuously, so condensation also takes place continuously and it is required to evacuate this condensate continuously. Otherwise, the condenser will be filled up. Evacuation of condensate is done with a pump called Condensate Extraction Pump CEP, and discharge is sent to the deaerator through ejector condenser and gland steam condenser. Why is the gland seal condenser used? Ejector steam and gland sealing steam are cooled, and the condensate formed is discharged to the condenser. Costly DN water is saved which would otherwise be vented to the atmosphere. Why is vacuum maintained in a condenser? Vacuum is maintained in the condenser to facilitate an easy flow of steam from the turbine and condense the exhaust steam easily. What is the function of an air ejector? An air ejector creates a vacuum by using high pressure air to entrain and remove vapor and other gases, effectively acting as a pump with no moving parts. The compressed air expands through a nozzle, creating a high-velocity jet that lowers the pressure in the suction. When is a multistage ejector used? During starting of turbine, when more vapor is to be extracted from the condenser, starting ejector is taken into service. Starting ejector or hopper ejector is a single or multistage non-condensing ejector. Here, air and steam mixture is vented to the atmosphere without condensing. Once the vacuum is obtained, the main ejector is taken into line. Why is an ejector condenser used? What are interstage and after ejector condenser? An ejector condenser is used to remove non-condensable gases and condense steam in a vacuum system to improve vacuum levels and the efficiency of the system. It works by using a high-pressure driving fluid to create a low-pressure area that entrains steam and gases, then condenses the mixture to reduce the load on downstream vacuum equipment. The terms intercondenser and after condenser refer to the placement of condensers in multi-stage ejector systems. What are the functions of U-loop and rotameter in an ejector? U-loop is used to maintain some head in the line to avoid air ingress to the condenser. In this way, heat of motive steam is utilized to increase the temperature of main condensate. A rotameter is fitted at the vent to measure the quantity of non-condensing gas vented to the atmosphere. What is the merit of a condenser having two halves? In some designs, the condenser is partitioned into two halves. Each half is having an independent cooling water inlet and outlet system. In this design, one half of the condenser can be taken out of service for maintenance, keeping other half in operation. In this condition, the load is reduced as the condensing capacity of the condenser reduces. Why is an expansion below required to connect a condenser to a turbine exhaust hood? Condenser neck is connected to the exhaust hood of turbine, and an expansion joint is provided in between to facilitate thermal expansion. How does scale on the condenser tube affect the performance of a steam turbine? If cooling water quality is not maintained properly, there is a chance of scale formation at the water side of the tube. This scale formation reduces heat transfer and hence, Efficiency of condenser 2. So, the tube are required to be cleaned regularly. Why is the rapture disc provided in the condenser? A rapture disc provided at the condenser to take care of accidental high pressure in the condenser. In this case, the rapture disc raptures and the pressure is released without causing any harm to the turbine. What is the use of vacuum brake valve? In some cases, it is required to stop the turbine as soon as possible to reducing coasting downtime. On which vacuum braking is required are loss of lubrication, high vibration, high axial expansion, generator differential protection. In these fault condition, the vacuum brake valve, which is normally a solenoid operated valve, opens. When is a dry cooling or air-cooled condenser used and how does it work? Waterless dry cooling system or air-cooled condenser ACC is installed to reduce water consumption at thermal power plants. This type of condenser is used at the power plants located at low ambient temperature area or where the water is very scarce. Air-cooled condenser is a heat exchanger which condenses the turbine exhaust steam inside the vent tubes by ambient air instead of cooling water. Define approach and range of cooling tower. Cooling range, the difference between the temperature of hot water entering the tower and cold water leaving the tower is called cooling range. Approach, the difference between the temperature of cold water leaving the tower and the wet bulb temperature of atmospheric air is known as approach. What is the difference between dry bulb temperature and wet bulb temperature? Wet bulb temperature can be measured by using a thermometer with the bulb covered in muslin. This is the minimum temperature which can be achieved by purely evaporative cooling. Wet bulb temperature is always lower than the dry bulb temperature. Dry bulb temperature refers to ambient air temperature basically. It is called dry bulb because the air temperature is indicated by a normal thermometer, not affected by the moisture of air. Why is a drift eliminator used? Drift, water droplets that are carried out of the cooling tower with the exhaust air are called drift. Drift droplets have the same concentration of impurities as the circulating water of the tower. Drift loss rate is normally reduced by putting a baffle-like device, called drift eliminator, through which air has to pass after leaving the fill and spray nozzle zone of the tower. Why is a side stream filter used? A side stream filter is used in cooling towers to continuously remove suspended solids, dust, biological contaminants, and debris from the recirculating water. This process prevents the accumulation of deposits on heat transfer surfaces, which reduces scaling, fouling, and corrosion, leading to improved system efficiency, lower energy and chemical consumption, extended equipment life, and reduced water waste. What is evaporation loss and how is it calculated? Evaporation loss in a cooling tower is the amount of water that turns into vapor and escapes into the atmosphere during the cooling process, and it can be calculated formula evaporation loss E bracket meter cube per hour bracket equals circulation rate bracket meter cube per hour bracket times C times temperature difference between hot and cold water degree CTX specific heat of water 1 kilocalorie per kilogram degree CCP per latent heat of vaporization of water 540 kilocalories per kilogram HV. What is COC of cooling water? How is it controlled? When pure water is evaporated, minerals are left behind in the circulation water. As evaporation continues, the water becomes more concentrated than the original makeup water. The ratio of level of solids of circulating cooling water to the level of solids of the fresh raw makeup water is called cycle of concentration COC. It is controlled by adjusting the amount of water drained, blow down and replenished, makeup to balance water conservation with preventing harmful scaling and fouling from mineral buildup. What type of chemical treatment is done at cooling tower and why? Cooling water circulation may result in the corrosion of water box and tube. There may be growth of algae and bacteria in the water. This growth may choke the circulation system. To get an optimum life of the condenser and better efficiency, the quality of cooling water is required to maintain strictly. For this, various chemical treatment are carried out. Some of the chemical treatment are antiscale and corrosion treatment, biocide treatment, acid treatment. How does dispersant work in cooling water? Dispersants are used in cooling water to control fouling. Dispersant is a chemical that increases the surface charge of suspended particulates. Electrostatic repulsion between like-charged particles prevent agglomeration, which reduce the particle growth and makes the particles less sticky. So, a dispersant affect both particles to particle and particle to surface interactions. What are the oxidizing biocides used in a cooling tower? An oxidizing biocide attack microorganism by oxidizing an electron transfer reaction the cell structure and disrupting nutrients passing from the cell wall. The most commonly used oxidizing biocides are chlorine, bromine, halogen and chlorine dioxide, ClO2. When chlorine is added to water, it produces hypochlorous acid, HOCl and hydrochloric acid HCl, Cl2 plus H2O is equal to HCl plus HOCl. This hypochlorous acid HOCl attacks the microorganism. HOCl dissociated into hypochlorite OCl- as pH increases. Some other oxidizing biocides are sodium hypochlorite or bleach NaOCl, calcium hypochlorite or bleaching powder CaO2Cl2 ozone, hydrogen peroxide. Why is the acid treatment of cooling water required? pH of cooling water increase due to continuous evaporation and concentration of salts. When sodium bicarbonate Na2CO3 is heated, it produces sodium hydroxide or caustic soda NaOH and sodium carbonate or soda ash Na2CO3. Both sodium hydroxide and sodium carbonate are alkaline in nature. So pH of the cooling water increases, and to maintain it sulfuric acid is dosed. 2Na2Ci3 plus H2O is equal to 2NaOH plus CO2 and 2NaHCO3 is equal to Na2CO3 plus H2O plus CO2. दोस्तों, अगर आपको कोई टॉपिक चाहिए या कोई खास सवाल सीरीज चाहिए तो मुझे कमेंट में जरूर बताएं। मैं अगला वीडियो उसी पर बनाऊंगा। चैनल को सब्सक्राइब और शेयर करना ना भूलें। मिलते हैं अगले वीडियो में।